Not only did Miss Diaz shoot Christopher Jones in the back, she left him to rot, Your Honor. Not only tried to convince his family and friends that he was still alive through her texting them on his cell phone, she also tried to convince the police.
This is a murder case. This is the taking of someone's life.
20 CR 11865, State of Texas versus Mary Jesse Diaz. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Alan Jackson for the state.
Defense?
Charles Buck and Jim Tochi for Ms. Diaz.
And are you Ms. Diaz?
Yes, Your Honor.
You entered a plea of no contest on July 16th to the offense of murder. According to the plea bargain agreement, punishment is to be assessed at a cap of 25 years in the prison. There are no applications, and of course, for murder, you're not eligible for probation. Have both parties had a chance to review the PSI report?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Judge.
Any objections to the PSI report?
Not from the state, Your Honor.
No objections, Judge.
All right. Any witnesses from the state or the defense?
Not from the state, Your Honor. We just have argument.
No witnesses, Judge.
All right. Then the court will hear argument. State, I'm
Yes.
assuming you're requesting that I hit the cap?
Yes, Your Honor. We feel that the 25 is already taking kind of evidence and other things into consideration. But especially after, if you read the PSI and you've had a chance to review the report, to review the autopsy, there's just several things I want to highlight. Not only did Miss Diaz shoot Christopher Jones in the back, she left him to rot, Your Honor. She left him alone in that house for the better part of a month. And there's evidence that she returned at least once, but likely more. She took his phone, his wallet, his watch, his dog, and his car. She used his car, she drove it around, she spent his money, she racked up his calls, she tried to collect rent from one of his friends, she tried to sell his equipment, and in that event, she got the murder weapon stolen. She not only tried to convince his family and friends that he was still alive through her texting them on his cell phone, she also tried to convince the police he was still alive. She impacted his entire family, his mother, his sister, and his aunt, and the children that he had only recently connected with. And so 25 to us is the only thing that even came close to getting any sort of justice, Your Honor.
All right. Defense.
Hey, Judge. Excuse me, on behalf of Ms. Diaz, we believe the PSI does discuss quite a few things that I would ask the court to consider. First, regarding the PSI, it talks about her children, and it says she has 4. She actually has 6, just so the court knows. Factually, there are some inaccuracies in the PSI. She has 6 children rather than 4. It does discuss also some things that happened to Ms. Diaz as she grew up and some of the difficult things she faced as a young person. Now, addressing what happened on this day, and the state talks about the fact that the 25 takes into account all the factors that led up to what happened on this day, and perhaps it takes into account some of it, but Ms. Diaz, in her description of what happened that day, you know, she comes clean and she tells the court exactly what happens that day, and she's correct and she's truthful with the court in the PSI. And one of the things I think the court, you know, the state wants you to believe that she just left in there and did nothing regarding the police, but in fact, she tells the court through the PSI that she thought the police had been notified through these people, because she goes immediately and tells somebody what happened. And she tells through the PSI, she says, I thought the police had been notified. And if you read the stipulations, you'll see that in fact, the police were notified. The police were called and told, and they did nothing about it. So while Mary did not call the police, she told people what happened, and those people called the police and told the police. And then for whatever reason, the police didn't believe anything about it. And so when I think it was Vanessa and her roommate or her wife, or whoever it was, when they called the police, for whatever reason, nothing happened. Now, the problem that Mary then ran into is as time passed, you know, it just kind of, you know, it became more and more difficult, and it's kind of snowballed on Mary. And certainly she should have come forward, and she didn't. And she realizes, as she stands here today before the court, she realizes she certainly should have come clean. But as time passed, it became more and more difficult, and she made bad decision after bad decision after bad decision, which led her to make the one decision that, you know, that perhaps was her one good decision, that was to accept responsibility and come before this honorable court today and say, Judge, you know, I'm here. I accept responsibility. You can see I don't think you've seen a PSI that is as accepting of responsibility as this one is. She tells you exactly what happened. She tells you why it happened. She tells you what was going on between the two of them and everything. And the good thing, if there is any good thing from Mary's version, is it's completely supported by the stipulated evidence. All the trouble that she says they were going through together is supported by the stipulated evidence. The fact that she tried to do something right after it happened and the first aid she tried to administer is supported by the stipulated evidence. So as she stands before you, she is accepting responsibility. She understands the court has to make this decision. She wants the court to know that she understands she's hurt many people. She's made a community feel unsafe. She's caused so much emotional stress to all the people that know about the case. She's done things. She's hurt his family. She's hurt her family. She's hurt everyone touched by this. But she can't change that. You know, she's by accepting responsibility, she's hoping people will see that she's doing everything she can to make it right, even though it's years too late. And then when we talk about years, in this case, we're talking about a cap of 25 years. And the court, you know, has the ability to consider, you know, obviously a cap of 25 means 5 to 25. And we're certainly not thinking by any stretch the court should consider anything between 5 and 25. The court shouldn't. This is a murder case. This is the taking of someone's life. But we're asking the court to perhaps consider something between 20 and 25 years. And I would ask that the court read the stipulated evidence, how it compares to her statement of the facts. I would also ask the court to consider the fact that she spent 1 year in jail and then 3 years on full house arrest. She didn't ask to go work. She didn't ask.
Counsel, what does she mean if you turn to page 11?
Yes, I was going to get to that part.
All right, if you can
You're
tell
talking
me
about
what
the
she
fair
means.
part?
Yes.
Yeah. So when she was asked about that, I asked her about that. I said, Mary, this sounds terrible. And she says, Charles, what I was trying to say was, when this happened, he had been, our situation, his and hers, was a volatile, abusive situation, and I had to make a decision on what to do, how to react. And I reacted in a way that turns out I had to make a decision that at the end wasn't fair to me. And in other words, she doesn't mean that this isn't fair. She means the result, she made a decision that in the end, the result wasn't fair to her, and that she was placed in a situation where she had to make a decision it wasn't fair to make her make that decision. In other words, he placed her in the untenable situation where you've got to decide to make this decision. And it's not fair to put a person in a situation where you've got to choose either I'm going to do something terrible to you, or you have to do something terrible to me to keep that from happening to you. And that's not a fair decision to put another person in. And that's what she meant. She certainly does not mean that it's not fair that she's before this honorable court. So, so I asked her about that. I've cringed just like I'm sure you did when you read that. But that she's not inferring or not telling this honorable court that it's not fair that she's here. It's certainly fair. She's here. And if it wasn't fair, we wouldn't be here. We'd be in trouble. Certainly, Mr. Tochi and myself, if we didn't think it was fair, we wouldn't have pled. We wouldn't be here. She understands, she accepts. What she meant was it's not fair to put in a person in a position to have to make that choice. Hey, am I going to have to hurt you? Are you going to hurt me? And that's not fair to make a human make that decision. That's what she was trying to say on that day, not to you, but to Chris. And so that it was just an unfair position to put another person in. Thank you. So anyway, back to what I was saying is just when you make the decision, we're asking you to consider perhaps, even if it's 22 or 23 years, considering how she came clean in the PSI, and it's shown that in the stipulated evidence. She spent 1 year in the county jail. She spent 3 years on full house arrest. We believe that those factors all combined would justify a sentence of 22 to 23 years, and we ask the court to do that. Thank you.
All right, state.
Just briefly, Your Honor, as you always say, I feel the truth is always somewhere in between. We obviously don't have Mr. Jones' side of the story, and we now have Ms. Diaz's 4 years later. I believe it would probably be somewhere in between, Your Honor. And at the end of the day, it doesn't take away all that she tried to do to hide the truth. She had multiple occasions to tell the detectives the truth. She spent hours being interviewed and she still denied the truth. She also had contact with the police at least once, I think maybe twice, between when he was killed and when the body was discovered. And at no time did she say anything. She knew he hadn't been discovered and the police hadn't gone because she went to that house, which she talks about, the fact that she went back to the house and his body was still there and she took the dog. So, Your Honor, 25 is the only real option here.
Okay, and I remember, the steps, and I always reread steps, and part of the stipulations, it says that there were text messages sent that appear to be text messages to make it seem as though the complainant was still alive.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did I read that correctly?
Yes, Your Honor. To multiple friends and family.
All right. Does anybody want to address that part of the stipulations?
No, like I said, at some point it snowballed and she got caught up in that.
All right. Anything else from either side?
No, Your Honor, just a reminder that we do have the family for victim impact on Zoom.
All right. Ms. Diaz, I want you to know when the state makes an offer a cap of 25, always consider the full range, because when people offer a cap of something, so I consider 5 to 25. I don't automatically say, oh, I'm giving this person 25 or 24. I consider the entire range of punishment. Okay. And I understand what the defense is asking for. I understand what the state is asking for. And I appreciate both people being reasonable in what they are asking for. All right. As previously stated, the court is finding you guilty. The court will give you credit for any time served. The court will sentence you to 25 years in the prison. Did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal with your attorney? Did you understand it and sign it?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. And counsel, I see that there were other mentions of maybe potential toxic relationship, abuse, that type of things. I'll request for you the mental health unit or the therapeutic unit, but you'll have to request it as well, because I don't have any jurisdiction to force them to put you in specific programs, but that may be of help to you. Okay. And your defense counsel will explain more to you about how you could potentially maybe get in those programs. Is there?
Would the court consider granting her credit for the time she was on the monitor?
No. All right. And so we are off the record. My understanding, you have victim impact.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you know I have a Husi SL112C
No,
and a Teresa?
Teresa for sure. Yeah, Teresa's the,
I think other family that you have logged in just to be part of it,
Okay.
but I'm not.
but Teresa.
Good morning. First of all, Honorable Judge Boyd, we, the surviving family of Christopher Lee Jones, would like to express our gratitude for the opportunity to give a small measure about how our family has been impacted. I was told we'd only have a few brief moments, and I've narrowed it down to 7-8 minutes, if that is at all possible.
Yes.
I would like to start with the statement from his mother, Leela Peterson. I'm sorry, I'm pretty nervous, obviously. Chris was my firstborn and only son. My hope was that his life would be blessed and anointed by God. That's why I named him Christopher, which is Greek, and Greek means bearer, carrier of Christ, anointed, and that he would always be protected by God. When he was growing up, my family and I tried to provide love and support to him in all he tried to do. Music was always his love and gift. As he ventured on his own, I pray that his name would be a self-fulfilling prophecy for his life. His music was beginning to show how special he was. He was completing his first CD, his tribute to God. Throughout the years he was away from home, we would always keep in touch, and he would tell me about his trials and blessings that led him to writing the songs on his CD. He thought he would finally be able to bless others with his songs. Then evil crept into his life in the disguise of a trusted friend and heartlessly ended his life. All the good memories have, all the good memories have been replaced by sorrow, despair, and disbelief that this could happen. I will never again receive a call from him to let me know he's okay and share with me what has been going on in his life. The cruelest cut of all is the reality that he is gone forever from those of us who loved him, and evil still remains. Next, I would like to share with Mary. Mary, I know you know what Chris is going through with his children, how much he missed them. It had been, about 15 years, I believe, since the last time he had seen them. I want to share with you what his daughter, his second daughter, Samira, shared. The day I got the call that my dad had died, my whole world shattered. I felt as if time did not exist. Everything was happening all at once, and I felt as if my life was crashing down on itself, leaving nothing but my broken heart. I remember what happened after we got the phone call. I ran to the washroom and began crying. I kept washing my face because I couldn't believe that my dad had died. It felt like a nightmare, but it was one I could not wake up from and would have to live through for the rest of my life. I stayed in my bed for weeks, heartbroken and motionless. All I could do was replay memories of my dad in my head and look at pictures in our texts because that was all I had left of him. All I could think about is how it could possibly be true. My dad is dead. I kept telling myself and praying to God that he was somewhere on vacation and just forgotten his phone, or he'd just been super tired and was resting. And that was the reason why he wasn't answering his phone. I couldn't believe it. How could this happen? Everything was going so well. It was like every other day I was just talking to him about movies. The last thing my dad said to me was about a movie that he recommended me to watch to help me with my social studies project. Even before we got in the news that my dad had died, I was already in grief. I just knew that he was gone, but a small part of me wanted to hold on to the illusions that I had made in my head. I remember I was in math class and constantly kept checking my phone to see if he had answered the message I had texted him, but still there was no answer. That was when I had my first anxiety panic attack. I got up and left class and went to the library where I began to cry. A friend of mine came in to me and asked me why I was crying, and I told her something is wrong with my dad. I couldn't muster up the courage to say I know that he's gone. She told me he's okay and that he's probably sleeping, but I knew my dad. He texted me right back no matter what. It could be early in the morning and he still replied to my text immediately as if he wasn't sleeping and was waiting for me to text him back. It was almost as if I was waiting for a ticking time bomb to go off, and there was nothing I could do about it. Our family started to post on his Facebook page to ask where he was and for him to give us a call, but there was no answer. We had then asked my aunt to call the police to do a wellness check, and then we had to wait. I remember coming home after school, and my sister and I knew something was wrong. There was an eerie feeling. Once we got into the house, my maternal grandmother was on the phone with my mom. And though she wasn't on speaker, we could hear her crying through the phone. I've never seen my mom cry like that before, and it pierced through my heart. My grandma put my mom on speaker, and that's when we got the news. It felt as if my heart had cracked and my stomach had dropped. All I could do was go and run into the washroom to cry. The days after my dad had passed away were extremely painful. I would go through our texts and look through his photos on my phone, crying and wishing we had time, wishing that I could just say goodbye and tell him everything I wanted him to know. Like how much I miss him every day, how much I want to hug him, how much I want to see him again, how much I love him, how I am proud of him after all his adversities, that he's gone through, and how he inspires me to do better and not give up. I wish every day that I could have the chance, a moment, even 5 minutes with my dad, but that will never happen. When I went back to school after weeks upon weeks and still was grieving, my friends were giving their condolences, but it felt as if all their words went into my ears like an empty black hole and disappeared. I was in disbelief, and all I could think about is, how is this even possible? How can I be in a world where my dad isn't here? It didn't make any sense to me. I couldn't believe that the only thing that I had left of my dad were pictures and memories. He was just here. He was just here. So how could he be gone forever? I have a hard time accepting my dad died. I know that eventually everyone passed away, but I thought that my dad would at least have more time before he passed away. I would be there by his side, being there for him and help him through his final steps. I thought that he would at least be given one more moment before there would be no more moments at all. In fact, I still cannot believe it. I catch myself reading through our text and calling him, crying, hoping he'll pick up, knowing that will never happen. Every time I try to talk about my dad, all I can do is cry. I have problems sleeping because of panic attacks and anxiety. I fear losing my mom and my family. I can't handle it. When my dad died, all I could think about is why? He didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve what happened to him. Nobody does. And nobody's family deserves to go through the pain my family has gone through. This last year, I came to the realization that I'll never see my dad again, speak to him, hug him, and tell him how much I love him, or even spend time with him, because that was all taken away. When my dad died, I cried so much to the point that I couldn't physically cry anymore, and crying became painful. My eyes would burn from the tears, and my throat was so sore until I couldn't speak, and even to drink water was painful. I couldn't. I was in too much pain. I was heartbroken. My dad's death didn't just change my life. It shattered and destroyed it. I became so distressed that my pituitary gland became extremely swollen, and I had to get MRIs. I began to have headaches constantly, and all I could take was medication after medication. I would be sick all the time and could not sleep because of how bad my anxiety and panic attacks had gotten, and I was only 16 at that time. All this is caused by the stress I endured from my father's death. It didn't just shatter my heart and break me on the outside, it broke me on the inside as well. Before my dad passed away, I was getting straight A's in school, but when he died, I couldn't do it anymore. I felt as if studying was a waste of my time. I realized how short time is. I couldn't waste my time studying if I could spend it with my family, because how would I know if this was the last time with them? I found myself trying to compensate for how I felt about the waste of time I spent studying, when I could have been talking to my dad, when I could have been replying to him, talking to him, instead of telling him, "Dad, can I talk to you later? I'm studying right now. But I'll talk to you later. I love you." One of the worst words, later, because later never came. Later didn't exist for us. I graduated in the class of 2022, and I remember when I was watching my classmates walk the stage, all I could think about is how my dad was so excited to see me and my siblings graduate, but that was taken away from him. And the day that was supposed to be my happiest became my saddest. All I could do was to try not to cry as I heard dads cheer for their daughters as they walked across the stage, on to the next chapter of their lives, knowing that my dad would never be able to do that. Excuse me. For many people, when they lose their parents, it's by old age, and they know they are about to lose them. They are prepared. Family members can say their final goodbye and have closure before they lose their parents. But I was never awarded that. The last thing my dad ever said to me was, "Hey, Samira, what's up, Angel? Did you watch that movie yet?" And I never got to reply. I never got a chance to say I love you. I never got a chance to say goodbye to my dad, because that was taken away from me and my siblings, my family, and the people I love. Dad, I love you so, so, so much. Words can't even express how much I love you. I'm so, so proud of you. I couldn't have asked for a better dad, because even if I did, I would just get you. I wish we had more time, because a few words can't express how I feel. I'm so grateful for you. You made me a better person. You made me realize so many things I didn't know about myself. You inspire me. You are me and I am you. You are my life, my moon, my sun, and my star. Not just my world, but my entire galaxy and universe. You are my existence. Samira Jones. Oh.
Okay, Teresa.
This is hard. You know, we lost a big piece of our family. Everyone has things in their life that they wish they could change, and things that sometimes happen that they wish didn't happen. But to cover up and do the things that you did, Mary, I mean, you text me from Chris's phone telling me how Chris decided he was going to leave our whole family behind. He was moving to Texas and all this, and just rambling on and on about as if, and then when I tried to call his phone, I'm saying, Chris, why is Mary text me from your phone? Of course, I didn't know what happened. That was so cruel, and just leave him there. Do you realize that when we got his body back here, that was during the pandemic. If he had been discovered a day or two later, we wouldn't have been able to even get him back here because everything shut down almost the day or two after we finally got his body back here. I don't know what else to say. I hope God has mercy on your soul, that you understand what you have caused, whether intentional or not. I don't know. This is cruel. That's all I can say. Thank you, Judge Boyd, for letting me take the time to express our feelings.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you so
I'm sorry.
much.
No, I'm not.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you. I'm sorry for your loss. Court is calling NIGHTMAG number 755032, State of Texas versus Dirkland Davy. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state
Jason Garrett, Your Honor.
defense?
The attorney of record is Monica Guerrero. Joseph Stateson standing in.
Do you have any objection to this attorney standing in?
No.
Are you Dirkland Davy?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we're here. There's a warrant that was issued because you did not put ignition interlock on a vehicle. Does anyone want to address this?
If I can first say something, Your Honor. Mr. Dirkland had a misdemeanor DWI, County Court 12, that I don't believe that there was a condition on there. There was a condition, I believe that's out of this court. And there were 2 violations. The second violation report was ignition interlock.
Mhm.
But Mr. Dirkland did contact this court, actually got Norma Ferguson's email address and emailed her directly, trying to resolve the warrant to come in for a setting. This was the earliest we could bring him in.
Okay.
There was a vehicle. There's actually 2 vehicles. He's separated, but there was a person he was living with. And if I could swear him in.
Yes. And which court is the misdemeanor?
Well,
All right. Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Dirkland Davy.
All right, so you're in this court for an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. There was a allegation that there was a new case, which is a misdemeanor DWI, and that case is out of County Court 12.
it could have been the reverse also, because we appeared for County Court 12 first, and he
I
was not aware of this.
don't know
felony
anything
case.
about a assault battery with a deadly weapon. Deadly weapon.
No. Here's the thing. We're talking about your conditions.
Yes.
You're in this court for an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
That is correct.
You have a misdemeanor case that's a DWI.
Yes.
The misdemeanor case with the DWI, due to that, I requested, or it was requested for you to have ignition interlocks. And according to the violation report, this is the second violation report. So what I did was I allowed you time to comply with the request for ignition interlock, and that wasn't complied with. So your counsel has some questions for you. You may proceed.
Mr. Dirkland, did you intend to violate any type of pretrial violation?
No, sir.
And is there a vehicle that has ignition interlock at this time?
No, sir.
And why is that?
Because I don't have a vehicle. I've been on the breathalyzer for the entire time. The portable one, because I told them I didn't have a vehicle, so they scheduled me to have the portable, which I have here in court with me.
Did you at one point ever indicate to pretrial that there's a vehicle or 1 or 2 vehicles at your residence?
Never.
And there's a lady that you were separated from that allegedly you're living together with her. Is that true?
Yes,
Does she have any vehicle to her name?
she has one, but I has no access to it. None.
Do you drive any vehicle?
No.
And the portable device you've been regularly going into that as instructed?
Yes, sir. Five AM, 5 PM, and 10 PM.
Judge, do you have any questions for him?
No, state any questions? All right, so does the bondsman want to be on this case? I issued a judge's warrant. I didn't remand him. I mean, I didn't issue a bond forfeiture, so the question becomes whether or not the bondsman wants to remain on the case or be reinstated.
I don't have an answer for that. We would always ask for reinstatements. If there's an issue, we would ask for a PR bond, but I don't know if you could due to the nature of the felony offense.
All right, if someone, this is what the court will do. The court will reinstate or ask that the bondsman's bond. Well, no, actually, I don't have to do that. I just recall the judge's warrant, and if the bondsman hasn't filed an off bond, then that will be the bondsman. State, any objection to recalling the judge's warrant? All right, then the court will recall the judge's warrant. You will be on the portable device then. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And the court is going to state that there is to be no driving. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, is there anything else?
And just so you're aware, he didn't drive here today. He has family in the gallery that brought him to court, just so you're aware.
And when I leave here, I gotta go take my drug test.
Okay, all right, the warrant will be recalled. You're not allowed to drive. All right, is there anything else?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
What makes this case so heartbreaking isn't just that a life was taken, it's what happened afterward. The courtroom heard how one decision spiraled into weeks of deception, leaving a family desperately searching for answers while believing their loved one was still alive. Judge Boyd's sentence reflected more than the act itself. It reflected the lasting pain caused by every lie that followed. In the justice system, accepting responsibility can matter, but it doesn't erase the consequences of actions that deepen the suffering of others. Do you believe the 25-year sentence delivered justice, or should the punishment have been even harsher?